welcome to Raise Green Investor Day. We are delighted to have you. We're going to get started here just a moment. So 4 years ago, when we created Raise Green, the amount of global climate finance that was flowing was a little over $500 billion per year, which is woefully short of the estimated $1.1 to $3 trillion required and called for by the IPCC's report to keep warming below 1.5 degrees C. And today, according to the most recent reports around COP26, there's now an estimated 1.4 trillion per year flowing. And yet the amount needed to avert catastrophic global warming has gone up to about 3 to 5 trillion per year between now and 2050. And that's because the longer that we wait, the more expensive it becomes to solve this problem. Meanwhile, record temperatures are hitting both poles and alarming most of us. Also today, as Russian troops wage an unprovoked war invading Ukraine, largely over access and supply to fossil fuel resources, it's causing gasoline and fossil energy prices to soar. And it's clearer than ever why we must accelerate the global transition away from polluting, dirty energy and toward energy independence through homegrown clean energy and energy efficiency. At Raise Green, we've mobilized about $3.5 million into local climate solutions, but it's not how much we've measured, not how much we've mobilized that we measure success on. It's how we do it that matters. Democracy and access matter, and inclusion matters. And crucially, we've been able to activate more than 1,500 individual investors, leading to more than 800 trades and a full 16,000 person network of supporters. And I share these numbers not out of vanity, but out of a call to action that can and should be answered by thousands and millions more. A full 195 million Americans are alarmed or concerned about climate change, according to the Yale Program on Climate Communications. And Raise Green offers these Americans something meaningful that they can do about this anxiety. Invest as little as $100 into local climate solutions and get paid back while you do it. We all can benefit from this transition to a clean energy and climate safe economy that we need to build. And to have an equitable transition, we actually need everybody involved. So today you'll hear from 3 heroic entrepreneurs on the front lines of the energy transition who are working to solve the climate crisis by deploying carbon cutting technologies block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. And we're offering you the ability to stand with them, to power their work that will power our future and be able to generate a healthy return while you're at it. They won't talk about the specific terms of their offerings today, since you can find that information on invest.raisegreen.com, but they will tell you what your money would go to if you were to invest, what they're building, and how you can make a difference by investing today. So every dollar invested in a real-world climate solution project adds up to collective action that we can all be proud of taking. And that action goes beyond plastic straws and meaningless offsets. It's action that actually moves us away from dirty energy and toward a clean, abundant future. Together, we can create a healthy, just, and sustainable world. And we hope that you'll join us in that effort. Thank you for logging in today. And I'll turn it over to Ben DeLynn, who is our marketing manager and will serve as our master of ceremonies today. So Ben, over to you.
Thank you for that welcome introduction, Franz. And again, welcome to everyone. Let's get going. Just go over the plan of action for today. Each issuer will share the story of their company. It's your chance to hear directly from the issuers about how they're tackling the climate crisis head on. First, some background on who we are and what to expect today. We are a US-based funding portal with offices at Greentown Labs in Boston, Massachusetts, and are registered with the SEC and FINRA to sell private exempt securities. We bring investors and companies together on our marketplace, and we financed over $3.5 million in climate solutions so far through 15 different securities offerings on our platform since launching in 2020. As the funding portal, we perform due diligence on each of the offerings before they go live. However, we do not provide tax, accounting, legal, or financial advice. We encourage you to review the materials, do your own research, and seek your own counsel before making any investment decision. So today, Representatives from BlocPower, the Climate Access Fund, and the National Energy Improvement Fund will speak for roughly 5 minutes each and share their stories. If you have any questions, please post them to Zoom's Q&A module. They'll be answered after each issuer has had their chance to present. If you have a project-specific question that doesn't get covered today, please log in to invest.raisegreen.com and ask them on the forum module on the marketplace of the company's offering page. General investor inquiries can be directed to investors@raisegreen.com. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first presenter today. First presenter is Peter Krasha of the National Energy Improvement Fund and was our first issuer to sell securities on Raise Green. Peter's a recognized innovator in energy efficiency finance that has designed multiple national energy finance programs. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Franz. It's always a pleasure to join you on one of these investor days and be with you since the beginning, and also great to have Dave and Lynn as co-presenters on the call. If you can, I'll tell you a little bit about the National Energy Improvement Fund, if you just want to advance the slide. We are a national lender to help increase the affordability of climate impactful improvements to homes and businesses. And as Franz was talking about rising fuel prices and everything that we're all aware of going on in the world, we're also aware of rising interest rates. And this is going to present an increasing and negative confluence of events for all of us right now. When we talk about, and I'm really going to dwell on really basic stuff. This is the basic all-American homeowner that needs to improve their efficiency, health, safety, and comfort of their home, both for economic reasons and both for some personal reasons and some for reasons of safety. So the problem right now is that most of these folks that are trying to improve their home are driven through by contractors who are offering them very traditional finance company kind of financing. So you've all seen it, 0% for 6 months and 32% thereafter, and all kinds of adjustable rate sort of credit card kinds of programs that if you don't have the cash or the home equity loan, an increase to electrification of your home or insulation or anything like that becomes very expensive for moderate, low, moderate, and even middle income homeowners. That's going to get worse because most of the plans that consumers have put in are variable rate credit card kind of plans that as rates move up, those rates will move up as well. So even if you see, oh, it's 0% for 5 years, I will tell you the myth of 0% financing that we all see with car financing and everything else. Somebody's got to pay for that, right? And typically it's the manufacturer or the distributor or the contractor paying a fee to get that 0% up to the yield the ultimate lender needs. Where does that come from? As it increases, it's going to get built into the consumer prices. So whether it's the interest rate rising or the cost of the product increasing because of 0% subsidy, that's an issue. NEIF, the National Energy Improvement Fund, is really kind of a successor company to my family's business from 1947 called AFC First, that Matthew Brown and Laura Nelson and much of our old team reorganized in 2018 to kind of create a source for trusted, fair, sustainable financing for really essential energy improvements. And while we do renewables, we're really focused on the essential stuff. So it's simple, transparent, no cost to contractor, fixed rate. And this is the key when we're locking in a rate for an unsecured point of purchase financing that will alleviate some of the stress that's going to happen. So if Lauren, if you just want to advance again. So we do both residential and commercial financing, but again, primarily focused on essential home improvements like heating, cooling, roofing, insulation, lighting, battery storage, all through a network of vetted contractors. We have about 1,000 small business contractors largely who are approved to offer, do work under these programs. And then we also partner with states and utilities. And that's really been the genesis of what NEIF is all about. We run about 20 different state and utility programs where they can offer better rates for higher efficiency items. And we've been doing this for a long time. Our team has done now close to $1 billion in financing over the years of doing this. But we organized NEIF differently. We organized it intentionally as a B Corp and a benefit corporation. And I'm sure many of you are aware of that. We are a for-profit company, but we hope with a mission and a soul and a purpose, and that's to improve the affordability of energy efficiency and resilience improvements. We're a regulated lender. We're not a bank, but we are a regulated consumer lender and servicer in 25 states and operate our commercial program nationally. We were a U.S. Department of Energy Home Improvement Expert Partner. And interestingly, I've been doing the lending side of this with our team, and our team is based in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and in Denver, Colorado. For quite a while, Matthew Brown, my principal partner, was the person behind the creation of many energy efficiency programs over the last 15, 20 years in California, and you name the state, Matthew was behind it, used to be involved in state energy office work. So we have a pretty good intersection of those talents. Every dollar that somebody invests in our programs helps support improvements that to a consumer that improves the affordability of all those things that impact greenhouse gases and saves the money. So I think we're in a pretty good position. I also want to thank Franz and Matt and Ben. The Raise Green platform has given us an opportunity to really expand this to a broader market of smaller investors, which is why they exist. And we actually have some partnerships that we're developing with Dave and BlocPower and other investors on this platform. So with that being said, we are moving ahead. We've had a really good 2021 and moving ahead really to try to help stabilize the best we can this world in 2022. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Lynn Heller, the CEO and founder of the Climate Access Fund. She has more than 3 decades of experience in social entrepreneurship, philanthropy, nonprofit management consulting, and public policy. Lynn, please take it away.
Thank you, Ben and Franz, and to all the team at Raise Green. It has been a real pleasure working with you all up until this point. I am excited to talk to everybody about our project, but I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the problem that we're trying to address. As we all know, low-income communities and communities of color have disproportionately suffered the impacts of climate change, but they're mostly not benefiting from our collective efforts to combat climate change through clean energy. And if we're not intentional about this inequity, we will continue to reinforce the historic environmental and economic injustices with which we're all familiar, and we'll be leaving an awful lot of market potential on the table, untapped. So the Climate Access Fund is a nonprofit green bank that is focused on increasing low-income access to solar power in Maryland. We're a statewide entity that's headquartered in Baltimore City, and we really do zero in on this one market segment, low-income access to solar power, with a focus on community solar. Our Solar for Us project at Henderson Hopkins is a new type of community-centered solar project with the explicit goal of maximizing the economic, environmental, and social benefits to the community in which the project is located. In this case, the Madison East End neighborhood of East Baltimore. More than 1/3 of family households in Madison East End live below the federal poverty line, which, as a refresher, for a family of 4 is essentially $28,000. And 90% of the population in Madison East End is Black. The Solar for Us project will be a solar array located on the rooftop of the Henderson Hopkins School, which is a wonderful K-8 public contract school with a really strong community mission. The school has about 600 students, 95% of whom are Black and low income. 100% of the solar power that's generated on the rooftop will be reserved for 175-ish low-income families who are part of the school community. The families will receive a 25% discount on their utility bills, which in all will save, we anticipate, will save the community about $1.6 million over a generation, the life of the solar project. The Solar for Us project will also provide paid job training opportunities for residents interested in learning about the solar industry. It'll include an after-school club focused on clean energy for middle school students at the school. And through our partnership with Raise Green, we're opening up the opportunity for members of the community to share in the ownership of the solar asset itself. So we're really trying to tackle the benefits or share the benefits of this community solar project, the multi-pronged benefits with the community, and we're approaching it from a number of different angles. So this project is really, it's about climate change and clean energy. And it's really about environmental justice and energy equity. I encourage you to watch our video, which you can find on the offering page or on our website, because it's really the 6th grade superstars in the video that kind of say it all. The kids are the real reason that we're doing this project. And I hope that they'll be part of the reason that you all will decide to invest in the project. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynn. Our final presenter will be Dave Brubacher, a financial associate at BlocPower. Dave has deep experience in finance and helps lead BlocPower in their efforts to boost social and economic resilience in distressed communities. Dave, let's hear it.
Thanks, Ben. And thanks to Franz and the Raise Green team for having us. This is the 3rd time that we're on the platform, but my first time presenting an Investor Day. So I'm like super excited and fortunate to be up here with Peter and Lynn. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're all about at BlocPower. BlocPower is a clean tech startup that's trying to modernize buildings across the country by getting them off of fossil fuels and converting them to clean alternatives by electrifying buildings with air source heat pumps, adding solar and other energy efficiency measures. The reason we do this is US building energy infrastructure is outdated, it's unhealthy, and it's in desperate need of upgrades. And so what do we mean by that? Well, in New York City, 70% of greenhouse gas emissions come from the city's building stock. Much of this from small and medium enterprise buildings, from medium to larger multifamily buildings and apartment buildings. And so these SME buildings and these multifamily buildings, they face very high energy bills. They can spend up to 30% of their total budget on energy bills. These buildings are also really inefficient and they waste a bunch of energy. They're using less efficient fuel types like oil and gas. They're combusting these fuels. They're improperly insulated, improperly sealed. And oftentimes tenants don't have the ability to control their heating and cooling. And so what ends up happening is there's overheating of the building. And for anyone that's had an apartment in New York City, I'm a new transplant in New York. I'm in Greenpoint right now. And I'm facing this problem is these furnaces get really hot. And the building gets really overheated. And that's why when you walk around New York City in the winter, a lot of times you see people have their windows open to kind of cool it down. And so you're wasting a lot of energy, literally throwing money out the window. And so BlocPower really tries to combat that. Another issue that these buildings face is there's a lot of health hazards. With the COVID the last couple of years, we've learned that traditional building air and energy systems circulate viruses and spread COVID-19. There's lead and asbestos in these buildings. There's higher rates of asthma in buildings that use fuels that are combusting like oil and gas. And the challenge that these building owners face is that in order to upgrade their building, to retrofit their building, electrify and move to cleaner alternatives, they need to work with 6 to 12 different parties across multiple industries. It's a capital intensive project, so you need a financer, you also need an engineer, a contractor. You need to work with the local governments and utilities to get incentives for the projects, and it's really a mess and a huge imposition for a building owner to take on by themselves. BlocPower, we try to come in as a building decarbonization platform that takes this multi-party disjointed transaction and turn it into a seamless turnkey solution for the customer that brings together financing, engineering, the construction, and also the local and government and utility incentives that saves the customer money and gives them a seamless experience. And if you want to move to the next slide, Ben, I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're all about. Our mission is to leverage our proprietary technology. And you can see that in the right picture. That's our block maps is what we call it. And what this tech lets us do is it lets us leverage IoT, information of things, and machine learning technology to identify and target buildings that are inefficient in cities and communities across the country. After targeting these buildings, we can create shovel-ready scopes of works to create clean energy projects, largely in low to moderate income urban communities. And what we're hoping to do is we're hoping to address climate change, improve public health, improve the economic outcomes of these communities, and also generate good, honorable, clean energy employment opportunities. At the bottom here, you can see our founding team, Danelle Baird and Keith Kinch. They both have a community organizing background. Danelle spent 3 years as a community organizer in Brooklyn before joining the Obama campaign as a staffer. And then Keith Kinch is a deputy field director for Organizing for America in New York State, which is an arm of the Democratic National Committee. And so our founders, they pull heavily from their community organizing background and the way we run our business. We really believe that to fully decarbonize the building sector, it's going to take massive cooperation between the private and public sectors. And so kind of an example of how we're doing this is we've recently been named as the sole project manager to electrify the entire building stock of Ithaca, New York. We're really excited about this project, and we're working directly with the local government to target these buildings and find the projects to retrofit, while also getting support from our partners at Raise Green, Goldman Sachs, and Microsoft to finance these projects. And you know, we're really excited to have the opportunity to be on this platform and also give investors the opportunity to have some community ownership and stake in these projects and you know, move forward the clean energy revolution. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Dave. And a reminder to everyone who's watching, please feel free to submit any questions you have for these issuers in the Q&A module below. To start off, we have one standard question that we ask all of our issuers, which is, why does crowdfunding matter? Why was it right for your organization, and why now? So Peter, if you'd like to start off and just talk about Knife's experience with crowdfunding and motivations, that would be great.
Sure, Ben, thanks. Well, so you know, we have raised, our principal capital was raised through more traditional methods of not through investment banks, but directly with private investors and our own capital. But we wanted to broaden the reach, and actually it started where one of my daughters asked me. She said, you know, Daddy, I really love your mission and your purpose, but I'd like to find a way to invest in your company, but I don't have $50,000 or whatever our minimum investment was. And it got me really thinking about the crowdfunding experience. And we discovered Raise Green, I don't know how long ago, 3 years ago, whenever it started. And I said, wow, here's a crowdfunding platform that is mission aligned with what we're trying to do. And that's how it's turned out for us. We've been able to make this whole mission into a much broader and holistic approach to all kinds of investors. And with Raise Green, you know, with them handling, I'm a compliance guy, right? I'm a regulatory guy. That's what I believe in. And so as a lender, I really wanted to find a partner who was equally focused on compliance and regulatory scrutiny. And that's what Raise Green team has done for us, knowing that we can work together to end up having a compliant crowdfunding offering with us focused on our business and Raise Green focused on that business. But most importantly, it's allowed us to broaden the reach of who we can talk to.
Fantastic. And Lynn, same question to you. Why did you choose to engage the community through crowdfunding?
Yeah, well, it's 100% consistent with our approach to this community solar project, which is, again, very community centered. And that community can be defined in any number of ways. It can be defined, I mean, most of the benefits we are trying to direct towards the Madison East End neighborhood in East Baltimore, but community can also be defined more broadly. And so we love the fact that the ownership in this case, some of the ownership will be shared of this project will be shared among a broad community of investors, hopefully including some folks from the community. So it's really very consistent, hand in glove. In fact, when we first met Franz and Raise Green, I thought, well, this is too good to be true, because this is exactly the kind of company that we were looking for. So yeah, I'm really grateful.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Dave, same question to you. Why did crowdfunding make sense for BlocPower's model? Why did it make sense to engage a wider base of investors?
Yeah, absolutely. We really love the community ownership aspect of the Raise Green platform. The way that it allows for anyone, whether you're an accredited or non-accredited investor, to support clean energy projects and receive the economic benefit of investing in your community. And also the fact that it allows for really anyone to co-invest with some of the largest investors in the world, like Goldman or Microsoft, in the projects that we do. And we think that's a really great thing.
Brilliant.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Can I chime in again? It's in community solar, at least in Maryland, the size that most solar developers enter into, the size projects that most folks develop is much larger than the project that we're developing on this rooftop. And that's simply because of project economics. And what ends up happening is most of the ownership of these projects ends up going out of the communities and, in the hands of Wall Street or other big financial institutions outside of the state and outside of the local area. And so the idea of being able to democratize the ownership is really, really unique in community solar. And it's an experiment and sort of, we're seeing if it works as we go here. But what we hope is that we'll be proving a model that can be replicated, over and over again in multiple states.
Absolutely. And just Lynn, to follow up on that, we have a question that just came in for you. The asker said, love the idea that community members could own a piece of the solar array at any level of participation. Super simple question. Where does a return at the level you were indicating come from? Just trying to follow the money.
So the return comes from the revenue to the project is really essentially, there are two types of revenue to the project. One is the cash coming from the bills being paid by the low-income customers who are receiving the energy and paying just like they would their electricity bill. So that's one source of revenue for the project. And then the second source of revenue for the project is through solar renewable energy credits, which are traded in the marketplace for in exchange for the solar power that is being generated by the project. So those are the two main sources of revenue. And that's where all of the financing from the project stems from ultimately, after costs have been covered.
Fantastic. Hopefully that answered your question to whomever asked. And Dave, we have a question in the chat from you. Do you know of any studies linking childhood and or adult asthma to the use of oil and gas in buildings? Can oil and gas use be isolated from other conditions that might exacerbate asthma? Maybe a more of a public health question, but if you happen to know the answer, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, that's a great question. And unfortunately, I don't have any of the studies like readily available off the top of my head. But one thing that we can do is we can post some of these studies that we found onto our offering page. You guys can check out, what we're doing with Raise Green, and also read about some of the links between oil and gas combustion and higher rates of asthma in inner cities.
Absolutely. And anecdotally, it's interesting to note the use of gas stoves for 30 minutes in a household can create the same air quality level as smog in LA on some of the worst days of the year. So there absolutely is a correlation between air quality and combustion of fossil fuels, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone on this call. Well, it doesn't look like there are any more questions in the chat. If anyone else is interested in asking a question, you may go on to the offering pages at invest.raisegreen.com and ask in the Q&A module on each offering. The issuers are required by compliance and law to answer your question. So if you're not ready to ask one here, you can absolutely ask one there. Without anything else, Franz, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Ben. And thank you for the excellent presentations, Peter, as always, and Lynn, welcome to the show. And Dave as well. We're tremendously excited to have your offerings up on the marketplace. I do see a question here from Jim. Will this session be recorded? The answer is yes. So if you signed up today, you will get an email afterward with the recording. And anyone who would like to view it can also just go on and check it out as well. And then I see another question here actually for Dave, before I get to ask some, but is how limiting is workforce at the scale that you are operating at? I know that has been an issue more generally. And actually, yeah, this is something we were excited to just put out a blog on, was the work that you all are doing on workforce development as well, Dave. So I'll turn that question over to you.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's definitely a challenge that we've been trying to focus on and work on, especially in New York City. And so what we've done is we've partnered with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice to create this program to train and upskill 1,000 workers in New York City, primarily in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, to be trained in installing air source heat pumps, trained in OSHA, contracting best practices, also trained in being solar technicians. And one of the cool ancillary effects of this program is since it's with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, the thesis of the program and the hope is to reduce gun violence in these neighborhoods. Obviously, it's really difficult to prove any causality, but in the neighborhoods where we've been training these workers and upskilling them, we have seen a huge reduction in gun violence. We believe that putting people to work, giving them great opportunities to get into the workforce and have positive economic opportunities, can lower the rates of gun violence and also help the energy transition.
Awesome. Yeah, incorporating that workforce development component, and then Lynn, on the educational component that you all are incorporating. I think it's such a great way to spread the good word. Also share that kind of knowledge equity that comes along with additional financial literacy, additional energy literacy, as well as the transition to a clean energy economy continues. We're going to need more and more folks entering the workforce at all levels, both at the implementation and hands-on nuts and bolts, up to actually developing these projects and financing them and going out and getting access to capital to grow businesses. So love seeing that whole chain. We've got another couple questions rolling in, and please do keep them coming. It's great to see the engagement from folks. One I think is for us, actually. It's from an anonymous attendee, and it is: can each of the 3 investment opportunities accept money from trust accounts? So the answer broadly on the Raise Green marketplace is yes. We definitely can take investments from trust accounts, and actually several trust accounts have already invested in previous offerings that we've done. I'll take the opportunity to note that Dave and Peter's offerings, so the BlocPower and National Energy Improvement Fund offerings, are actual live securities offerings where offering memorandum have been filed with the SEC. The offering that Solar for Us has listed is currently an indication of interest offering, which means no money is actually exchanged at this point for that offering. So it's an opportunity to express your interest, and then if and when a full offering is filed, then they'll be able to accept investments directly. And then there's one more question I see, which is a good one for Lynn. Are investors eligible for any of the tax credits for the Solar for Us One LLC opportunity?
Investors in general are, but not through the Raise Green, platform. So we are seeking tax equity investors separately. And that is one of the reasons that we are not ready to go live yet with our actual raise, because we are still finalizing the pieces, but wanted to get a sense of demand and interest on the what we call sponsor equity piece of the capital stack. But yes, if you're interested in the tax benefits and being a tax equity investor, please reach out to Franz, who can then maybe reach out to me, because we're welcoming any and all interest.
All right. Thanks, Lynn. Oh, another question popped into the chat just on time. Lynn, given the status of this raise, do you think that the project will go live in 2022 or 2023?
We anticipate 2022. So, barring some, well, I should say the raise, we anticipate going live in 2022, given all of the supply chain difficulties that I know we're all very aware of and familiar with. The project itself likely won't go live until 2023. But yes, the raise, we expect 2022.
Very good. Cool. Well, let me take the opportunity, since we're awaiting any further questions, to kind of do a little bit of a switcheroo here. I know that some folks tune into this event with the interest in learning from existing issuers what the experience is like. There are many folks right now contemplating doing additional listings. In fact, more than ever, thankfully. So, a question for each of you, respectively, is, how has the experience been? What have you found difficult about getting ready for and listing and offering? And then what have you found to be easy, and would you recommend it? A risky question for us to be asking, but I think folks would love to know. So anyone want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly talk about what we've pretty much, our whole experience has been positive in terms of the administrative work with Franz and his team, and that's largely because of I don't mean to be like, overly solicitous here, but he's assembled a really good team. And I never know which country I'm talking to, or where they're all US based, but some people may be, they're all very responsive and all very professional and come with great experience. I think for us, the putting together the documentation was, it's always a project, but it wasn't super onerous because it's kind of what we do anyway. It's just in a different format. I think the biggest challenge, and this is where Ben has been a great help, is marketing anything is not easy, right? And so we do benefit from being on the Raise Green platform as more opportunities come, and there's more people, more eyeballs on your site. The more we've seen, somebody might be on there looking at BlocPower and then invest in BlocPower and NEIF. So we've seen that already, which is great because it's the marketplace you wanted to do. As we start doing more direct outreach, that we found having Ben and his team now working with our marketing folks to be really beneficial, and we're just doing that really hardcore for the first time. So I think that's the really big addition that you've made here right now.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in and say, the team, I just would want to echo what Peter said about the professionalism and the experience of the team, and the responsiveness of the team. It's been just really great. When I said it's been a pleasure working with you all, I meant it. I will say that the documentation is challenging, and we are a very small shop. We don't have our own marketing department. We don't have endless numbers of staff, and so the documentation has been burdensome. It is all required by the SEC, so that's not that just goes with the territory. But as far as working with Raise Green, it's really been it's been great. I'm trying to think of something even slightly negative to say, because that's always helpful, but I can't. So.
Then I'll just say, like I mentioned earlier, this is our third time on the platform, so we really love working with the Raise Green folks. Kind of to follow up with what Lynn said, like there's a lot of paperwork and red tape to go around and get up on the site, but Raise Green really makes it super easy, and the team's a dream to work with. Would really recommend it to any other issuers that are thinking of going on the platform. And I think really one of the biggest challenges is just getting the word out there to people and potential investors that this opportunity exists, and that you can, as an individual, whether you're accredited or not, invest in these clean energy projects. But yeah, no, we really love the Raise Green folks. Thank you guys.
Y'all are too kind. I promise we didn't script that. So really appreciate the support, and it certainly, doing a securities filing is very serious, and we take it very seriously. As Peter was saying, compliance is a badge of pride that we wear here at Raise Green, but we certainly as well aim to make it as easy as possible. Along those lines, we've actually been building software, which we ran a beta on back over the last year. We co-built it with IBM. We call it the TurboTax of project finance, or the originator engine, which is designed to actually draw on replicable templates and give you, as a developer, the ability to pull those in and easily draft and eventually duplicate the offerings that you'd like to list. So make it as easy as possible. But it's not about us. It's about you. It's about investors on this call today. And maybe we can do one more round robin, which is kind of a simple question, but could have a complex answer, which is, what are reasons to believe? Why should people invest specifically in the project that you all respectively have out there? Anyone want to take that one? Your number one reasons to believe. Peter, I know you've got a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, just unfortunately, the climate change and raising prices is an existential threat, and it impacts. Even though people would rather be, most homeowners would rather be investing in their new kitchen countertops or whatever they want to do, nobody really wants. No, I shouldn't say this. A very small percentage of the world actually wants to take proactive steps here. They do it defensively because it's costing them a lot of money, and they want to increase their health and safety. So, I think NEIF focuses on providing the affordable and simple ways for consumers to do that. And more importantly, I didn't really stress this long enough, it's about getting the contractors engaged in this, your local HVAC guy and your local insulation guy, getting them vetted and trained so they understand how to be able to install higher efficiency systems or more resilient roofing. For example, we do a lot of work on fortified roofing in the Southeast for hurricane preparedness. So getting the right network of contractors in that deployment, that's what supports the lending that we do. Interestingly, people ask about delinquency and credit and charge off. So our whole portfolio, and I'm going back in the old AFTC days, became the foundation for energy efficiency, the first securitization of all these kinds of loans. We've been through the 2006, 2008 credit crisis. Our delinquency never changed. Our losses didn't change. It's because the loans that we're making are not huge, so the impact is not that great on people's budgets. But more importantly, they put a lot of faith in the things that are helping to keep their house warmer or cooler or safer. So I think there's a consistency to that based on the financing that we provide as well.
Dave, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure thing. I think it's guilt-free impact investing. I think you get a return while supporting the energy transition and getting to support your local community. And I think that's a really great, powerful thing. And so a little simpler, but I'd say that's my answer for why you should invest.
Yeah, and I will echo that. It's really a triple win. It's a economic return. It is you get an environmental benefit and you get a social benefit, really, for all three of our projects. I also just sort of taking a big step back, it's worth sort of, I think, throwing out there that what we are experiencing is a way to change the way that electricity, and particularly energy more broadly, is both generated and distributed. Throughout for 100+ years, we've had big, expensive power plants centrally located, and then the electricity goes out to all the houses, homes and businesses. Now what we're seeing is the democratization, as we've talked about, of that energy generation and the distribution of that energy generation, at the risk of stating the obvious. And what we're trying to do with this project is say, okay, this is wonderful. And a lot of folks are doing that through community solar and single family rooftop solar, but it's not being done equitably. And it really takes a lot of extra effort to make sure that it is done equitably. And so the Solar for Us project is a way to sort of participate in the testing of a new financing model that will allow for very underserved and overburdened communities to also participate in that democratization and the distribution, while still earning a return on your investment.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, sounds very, very reminiscent of the administration's current Justice 40 initiative that they're promoting around having 40% of the benefits of climate investment flow to disadvantaged communities where it's needed the most. So really hearing the seeds of that. Ben, you came off mute there.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Just to note, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A module here. We have one for Dave and BlocPower. Has BlocPower considered raising equity capital as well? More general, is that a class of offering Raise Green is interested in? Dave.
For now, I think we're more focused on our debt offering. I think that's a larger need is having project capital that we can use to invest in these projects. I think we would definitely be interested in exploring equity investments, especially as it becomes more of a need. But right now the focus is getting money that we can directly invest into our projects.
Fantastic, thank you. And generally, yes, this is a class of offering Raise Green is interested in. We've had a number of equity projects in the past, and we'll have more in the future. A question to all three issuers from Jeffrey Jackson. Do any of your businesses have national ambitions, or will you remain focused on your initial geography?
Well, we already are a national lender. We're in 25 states. We run programs for about 15 different utilities, ranging from Jersey Central Power and Light in New Jersey to Excel in Colorado, to just starting a new program with Duke in the Duke territory. So yeah, our footprint is national.
And I should say, we fully hope and anticipate that this module, financing model for very distributed solar generation, community-based, will be not only replicated in Baltimore and in Maryland, but we hope to share our lessons learned across the country. And I should add, just in response to the previous question, ours will be an equity offering. So you had the asker had asked if that was something that Raise Green was doing. So I just wanted to emphasize that ours is an equity offering.
As is ours. Ours is a preferred equity offering. So rather than going into terms, but just want to make that clear as well.
Yeah, and BlocPower is a national company. We've done projects from New York to California. If you got a building anywhere in the US and you want to do a project with us, just do our building intake submission on our website, and we'll send that to engineers and send you a scope of work that we'd like to do for your building.
And I believe another question for Lynn just came in. With the recent DOE announcement to increase community solar by 700% over the next 4 years, how do you anticipate this commitment could impact the returns on investment?
I think it can only help. The more attention and investment put into community solar, and particularly within these Justice 40 communities, the more folks will be interested and the greater cash flow will be flowing into the space. And so the returns I would anticipate would benefit.
Yeah, and I would add on that one, thanks for highlighting that target coming out of the Department of Energy. Raise Green actually does also operate as a member of the National Community Solar Partnership, which I believe Climate Access Fund is a part of as well. And through that effort, we're collaborating with a whole network of folks across the country to try to share best practices, disseminate useful financial approaches and capital formation models, as well as development approaches to further accelerate the deployment of community solar across the country. It's a nascent source of clean energy, but it's growing very quickly, and clearly the administration has given it a big thumbs up and desiring to make it grow even much more quickly. So, and I think, yeah, Climate Access Fund has been an inspiring piece of that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful network, and they have a new DOE has a new, well, the National Community Solar Partnership has a new initiative called the Credit Ready Solar Initiative, where they're really trying to, in a very concerted way, link developers to access to capital sources. And so I think there's just a lot of great potential there. It's a great network.
Wonderful. I don't see any more questions in the chat. And as we're starting to close out on time, it's probably about time to wrap things up. So I want to ask for a huge virtual round of applause for our presenters. Thank you so much for taking the time to present and answer questions today. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Franz to close us out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Lynn, Peter, Dave. Thank you for all the excellent questions to all of our participants. Good discussion here, and one for the books. I think you heard today that there's no better time to put your money to work, make your money do good. You've got some amazing folks here working to give you opportunities to do that, both locally and nationally across the country. If you want to follow in the footsteps of these climate heroes and join the ranks, start developing your own projects or using Raise Green as a funding mechanism to raise capital, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And please go and create a free investor account on invest.raisegreen.com. Where you can browse these projects as well as past projects and see what we've financed to date, and be notified of future opportunities as they come. We'll be making a big push and have a number of new offerings coming on the marketplace in the run up to Earth Day this year, which is in April, so just around the corner. Please do sign up for our newsletter and stay abreast. But for now, thank you all so much again. And I think Ben hit it on the head. Big round of applause. Have a wonderful end of the week and weekend. And thank you so much again for tuning in.
Thank you all.